Bill Maher called out CNN's Kaitlan Collins on the network's bias. Let's watch.
You made press because you were on Stephen Colbert's show, and he said something like, you guys at CNN just report the news straight. And the crowd burst into laughter.
CNN is the place where both sides can watch. And
I'm talking about the people on CNN. And what I know what the conservative side of America thinks, and I don't blame them. They were just gushing about how great a speech it was. And I think she did fine. I didn't think it was as good as they were making it out to be. It does look like tokenism. It's kind of like the same as The View. In a way, I feel like it's more insulting than what Trump does. And Trump says you're the enemy of the people, which is pretty bad. What she's kind of saying is, I don't need you. I'm not talking to you. You don't matter. You're not relevant anymore. To me, that's even worse than I hate you. It's like, I don't think about you.
I don't know if it's worse than denigrating the press on a daily basis, which is what Donald Trump...
Bill Maher was fed up with what he saw as media double standards. And this time, his criticism of Kaitlan Collins hit even harder. After previously calling out her coverage, many thought the CNN anchor might ease up. Instead, critics argue she doubled down, continuing to challenge Donald Trump, Caroline Leavitt, and even Elon Musk with the same aggressive style. But according to those critics, Maher wasn't about to let it slide. What followed was another fiery debate over media bias, political narratives, and whether major news outlets are informing the public or trying to shape public opinion. We've got all the details, so let's dive in.
Would you continue to give Ukraine money and weapons if you're elected? What's the answer?
If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours. It'll be absolutely
over. Do you want
over.
Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people.
Can I just follow up on that, because that's a really important
Excuse me,
statement
let me
that
just
you just
follow
made
up.
there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying.
Before we get to Bill Maher's latest criticism, it's important to understand why some people are surprised by his position. After all, Maher has long identified as a liberal and has openly supported Democratic candidates in the past. Yet in recent years, he has become increasingly critical of what he views as excesses within the media and progressive politics. Critics argue that journalists like Kaitlan Collins often frame questions in ways designed to create political traps rather than generate clear answers. One example frequently cited involves questioning Donald Trump about the war in Ukraine. According to critics, the question presented a no-win scenario. Any answer could have been interpreted negatively depending on the audience. Supporters of the media, however, argue that tough questions are part of a journalist's job. Regardless, the exchange became another flashpoint in the ongoing battle over media fairness and political coverage.
Why you held on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them and then had given you a subpoena to return them?
Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk?
Yeah, what's
you
the
mind?
answer?
Do you mind?
I would like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple to... You're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Critics point to moments where Trump openly challenged Collins during interviews and press events. They argue that instead of asking concise questions, she sometimes includes lengthy commentary that can blur the line between reporting and editorializing. From their perspective, the goal isn't always to get information, but to create a headline or viral moment. Supporters of Collins reject that claim, arguing she asks direct questions that powerful figures should be expected to answer. Still, the confrontational exchanges have become a defining feature of her public image. To critics, Trump's ability to push back against those questions demonstrates political experience. To supporters of Collins, it shows a journalist refusing to back down. Either way, the clashes continue to generate headlines.
That environment wasn't just created by Donald Trump.
Okay, but can I say, you can't blame, and everyone wants your dad to be safe. No one wants the threats against his life to happen, but you can't blame the media for those threats. There's been no evidence that's what drove those.
And allows people to have a platform to call someone literally Hitler every day for 9 years, it creates it.
Okay.
Whether you want to believe it or not, that's a fact.
But as you know, J.D. Vance once likened your dad to Hitler as well. He questioned if he was America's Hitler.
The tension escalated even further after the assassination attempt against Donald Trump. During discussions that followed, Donald Trump Jr. accused parts of the media of contributing to a hostile political climate through years of intense rhetoric aimed at his father. He argued that repeated comparisons between Trump and historical dictators had helped create an atmosphere of division. Critics of the media echoed those concerns, claiming coverage often crossed the line from criticism into demonization. Others strongly disagreed, arguing that journalists and commentators have a responsibility to scrutinize public figures, regardless of where people stand. The debate highlighted growing concerns about political polarization and the role media organizations play in shaping public perceptions.
Was it appropriate to bury the Hunter Biden?
You're talking about the press doing that?
He's saying that's what they did, and that is what they did. They buried the Hunter Biden story before the election because they were like, we can't risk having the election thrown to Trump. We'll tell them after the election.
And we know for a fact that that's what they did?
Of course. You don't
but
follow
I mean,
this.
saying you know for a fact that that's what they did. I don't know what they did.
I know, because you only watch MSNBC.
No, that's not true.
This broader frustration is one reason Maher has increasingly challenged mainstream media outlets. He argues that many journalists apply different standards depending on who is involved. Critics point to coverage of Hunter Biden as an example, claiming some outlets initially downplayed stories that would have received much greater attention if they involved members of the Trump family. Supporters of major media organizations reject that accusation and argue they follow evolving evidence and reporting standards. Still, the perception of unequal treatment remains widespread among many voters. Maher has repeatedly warned that credibility suffers when audiences believe the rules are applied differently based on politics.
There was what you'd have to call some sort of media suppression of Hunter Biden's computer right before the election.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Okay,
and the truth is, I still don't know what I think about that. And sometimes,
right.
But I mean, to actually parse everything in there and figure out just how dirty Biden Sr. is as a result of the information there.
Can I go to step two? But nothing really, it was common, it was the kind of sort of everyday graft that's sleazy, but doesn't affect the world, probably.
Yes.
Hunter Biden sold his father's influence to get money, but Joe Biden himself would not give away our nuclear secrets to the Chinese. He's not, he has a soft spot for his son, his ne'er-do-well, stupid son.
I mean, you've heard his voicemails to his Hunter.
So, like, Dad, I'm in a little bit of a jam. Could you just meet with the Chinese guy next week? It would mean a lot to me. And Joe would do it. And then Hunter would get the money for the meeting.
The debate over Hunter Biden became one of the most contentious media stories of recent years. Critics argue that allegations involving business dealings, influence, and access deserved more aggressive reporting from the start. They contend that if a similar story involved a member of the Trump family, coverage would have been far more extensive. Defenders of the media maintain that journalists must verify information carefully before reporting major claims. Yet the controversy continues to fuel distrust among viewers who believe some stories receive protection while others are amplified. According to Maher, that perception is damaging because it makes people question whether the press is serving the public or protecting political allies.
You made press because you were on Stephen Colbert's show, and he said something like, you guys at CNN just report the news straight, and the crowd burst into laughter. Look, I'm on CNN now. I guess we're on it right now. I mean, they show this show the next night. I don't know how we get away with it with all the fucks, but they do. And all these dirty jokes. But I'm glad, and I'm a big rooter for CNN. But that tells you a lot, doesn't it? I mean, how do you guys think you are doing in that arena of this is a terribly divided country. We're not only politicized, a lot of people just hate the other side. And CNN, in my view, should be the place where both sides can watch. How do you think you're doing with that?
CNN is the place where both sides can watch. And I think, my show is evidence of that. We have lawmakers on from both parties. We'll have Elizabeth Warren on one night. We'll have Ted Cruz on.
When Kaitlan Collins appeared with Maher, critics hoped he would challenge her directly. And many believe that's exactly what happened. Maher questioned whether networks like CNN truly maintain political neutrality. He argued that occasional appearances by conservative guests do not automatically create balance if the broader coverage overwhelmingly favors one perspective. Supporters of CNN strongly dispute that claim and point to the network's extensive reporting across the political spectrum. But Maher's criticism reflects a growing concern among viewers who feel traditional media outlets are becoming less trusted. For him, the issue isn't simply politics. It's whether audiences believe the information they're receiving is fair and credible.
I'm from Alabama. I'm from a very red state. I have a very conservative family, a lot of them who are Trump voters. They watch my show every night, and I think they know that they can trust me, that, you know, we call bullshit on every side, not just whatever leaning our audience may be. And I think that's something that people actually want more of.
One defense often raised by journalists facing accusations of bias is their personal background. Kaitlan Collins has noted her roots in a conservative state and her connections to Republican voters. Critics argue that personal history alone doesn't prove impartiality. They believe media organizations should be judged by their reporting rather than individual biographies. Supporters counter that journalists from diverse backgrounds bring valuable perspectives to the newsroom. The larger debate centers on trust. Can audiences separate a journalist's personal life from the institution they represent? And more importantly, do viewers believe those institutions are committed to fair reporting?
I'm sorry, but she's only a star with leftists. And the fact that she has some roots in Alabama does not make her a fair and balanced reporter. I will submit to the record, her biggest sin is not that she is biased, though she is. It's that she's boring. She's extremely boring with no personality. I have a pro tip for her. Smile. Try smiling every once in a while. Try not to be, like, in your delivery, such a cold-hearted all the time, because it gives people nothing to bond to. You can be a tough interviewer and also have some more.
Megyn Kelly has also weighed in on the discussion surrounding Kaitlan Collins and media bias. Like Maher, she argues that many viewers no longer accept claims of complete neutrality from major networks. Kelly has suggested that journalists would benefit from being more transparent about their perspectives rather than insisting they have none. Her criticism extends beyond politics to presentation and public perception. According to Kelly, credibility depends not only on the questions journalists ask, but also on how audiences perceive their approach. Whether people agree with her or not, her comments reflect broader concerns about trust in modern media.
Stephen Colbert had on Kaitlan Collins from CNN, obviously talking about how terrible Trump is and what a terrible job he's doing and how Kamala Harris has all the momentum and all of that sort of thing. But that's not the interesting part of the clip. The interesting part of the clip is that Stephen Colbert says, in perfect seriousness, with a straight face, that the legacy media are objective. That CNN is objective, and listen to the reaction of the crowd. Again, this is a crowd who opts into viewing The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, which means that they are all on the left.
Trump has kind of been thrown on his heels by this, and he's not really sure how to go after Vice President Harris. He knew his attack lines on President Biden. He really has struggled with how to go after someone who's 20 years younger than him, who is a different gender, a different race. It's kind of been this moment where he has not been able to coalesce around a single attack line.
I know you guys are objective over there, that you just report the news as it is. Oh, I know. CNN makes a... I know
Was that supposed to be a laugh line?
I wasn't supposed to be, but I guess it is.
Okay, that is an incredible admission, number one, by Stephen.
Even some critics on the left acknowledge that viewers often choose news sources that reinforce their existing beliefs. Ben Shapiro has argued that many audiences are fully aware of political bias and actively seek out outlets that align with their worldview. From that perspective, the issue isn't hidden bias, but openly ideological media ecosystems. Critics argue this creates an environment where news becomes less about informing the public and more about reinforcing narratives. Supporters of partisan media, however, contend that every outlet has a perspective and audiences should simply choose the one they trust most. The result is a deeply fragmented media landscape where trust is increasingly tied to politics.
Which White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night?
Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary. And nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to to ask the president questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today.
But isn't it retaliatory in nature is the argument, because there's a reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America, they're using Gulf of Mexico in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does
the debate over media access intensified during discussions involving Caroline Leavitt and White House press policies? Critics argue that journalists often treat access to powerful officials as an entitlement rather than a privilege. They point out that presidents have always exercised discretion over who receives interviews and opportunities for direct engagement. Supporters of the press counter that broad access is essential for transparency and accountability. The disagreement reflects a larger struggle between government officials and media organizations over who controls the narrative and how information reaches the public.
Your predecessor, Karine Jean-Pierre, who presided over many novel press access restrictions, criticized the recent changes to the press pool made by your office. She said in an interview, quote, "What we're looking at is what North Korea is doing." What's your response to that? And can you say anything to allay concerns that unfavorable coverage will be punished in this new press pool system?
I think that's the same individual who said from this podium numerous times that the commander-in-chief was mentally and physically up for the job, which we knew was a lie. Many people in this room knew it was a lie. Many of you were admonished for asking questions about that truth. So when it comes to truth and transparency, this administration, this White House is setting the example. This president is taking far more questions than his predecessor, Joe Biden, did on a daily basis, and that will continue.
In the end, Bill Maher's message is straightforward. He believes media organizations should spend less time trying to defeat political figures and more time rebuilding public trust. Critics argue that networks like CNN have become too focused on narratives and partisan conflict, while supporters maintain they are fulfilling their role as watchdogs. The debate is unlikely to disappear anytime soon. What is clear is that growing numbers of voters across the political spectrum are questioning the media, challenging long-held assumptions, and demanding greater accountability. Whether news organizations adapt to those concerns remains to be seen. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe for more content, and we'll see you in the next one.